of football, and we welcome two people who are part of the big day, Jack Harbaugh and Rebecca Armstrong. Welcome.
Thank you. So nice of you to have us.
It's an honor to have you here.
What a joy.
You have a lot of Harbaugh fans in Jackson.
Well, Jack Harbaugh goes back to the 70s. I was coaching with Bo at the University of Michigan, 73 to 79. Spent some time here in Jackson recruiting one of your all-time favorites and great names here. Unfortunately, we lost him to Minnesota, but it was a joy to recruit him.
Well, of course, that's Tony Dungy. But you have coached a lot of great ones, and you have a lot of connections actually to the area. You coached just a few miles from here, Maumee and Toledo, Western Michigan. You spent a lot of time in the area.
And we did, and enjoyed our time in it. And since we've been here with Al Glick, and we've had a chance to visit Al Rowe, and we've reconnected with so many of those. But Scott Conklin was a quarterback for us at Western Michigan. And of all the years and people I was around, he threw the ball about as well as anyone that we had. And I know he's working with Al Rowe as well.
And I think Western Michigan's still close and dear to your heart, because I saw a tweet you sent out a year ago, and you had the Broncos as part of your signature.
Well, it was 5 great years as head coach there, and reconnect with all our Michigan friends. It was quite an experience.
Well, Rebecca, I think our community is blessed to have Al Glick's close relationship with the Harbaughs and U of M football in order to have this great camp.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a big success last year.
We had over 260 kids, so I think for the first year that was a pretty good start. And lots of support from the university, but also from a lot of area schools, Jackson Public, but a lot of other schools really pitched in and helped coach. And so I think it was a good first year, but we're going to build on it this year. It's going to be even better.
Well, I think everyone that was there last year is going to be back and then some.
Yep.
There are so many people that saw or heard about afterwards and said, oh no, I missed it.
Yep.
But the planning for year 2, I think, was already underway on that day last year.
Yep, absolutely. We knew, Al knew that he wanted to do this. He just wants this to go on for forever. So it wasn't, when we started it, it was never intended to be a one and done, but for sure, go on for as long as we can.
And Jack, you were here last year. I know that you enjoyed the day, and so much so that you wanted to add something special to this year's event.
It was a fantastic camp. 260 youngsters from 4th grade to 8th grade going into their freshman year, coached by players that are playing collegiate football now, and coaches from the area, and a magnificent staff. And there was so much football that was taught, but even greater than that, relationships and youngsters meeting other youngsters and identifying with college football players. It was just a fantastic event. But my wife Jackie and I last year, we had a chance to go to Grand Rapids, a celebration of football in Grand Rapids. And we brought in moms and dads and grandparents and fans of football. Football is under stress right now with the concussion issue, and there's many parents that are nervous about whether they should allow their youngsters to play football. So Jackie and I were part of their group, and we had a chance to visit with them and talk to them about how equipment's much better than it was 5 years ago. Doctors understand concussions, coaches understand concussions, rules are being changed. So many different things have happened to make football safer. And what we want to do with the celebration of football here in Jackson is meet with the parents, meet especially with the moms, and let them know that their children, their sons are in good hands. Coaching is so much more recognizing these concussion issues, and it's so much safer, and we want to be able to get that message out.
When you played football, now everyone can picture that picture of Gerald Ford with that leather helmet. You too?
I had a leather helmet.
The 2 boys that you have, coaches, John and Jim. John last year said he didn't think that kids today are calloused enough to be in shape to play football, to absorb some of the physicality of the sport. And you agreed with him.
I did. What I think football to me is the greatest game that was ever invented. When I was a 7th grader in junior high school in a little town of Crestline, Ohio, first tackle that I made up my mind, this is what I wanted to be involved with the rest of my life. I wanted to play football as long as I could. Then I wanted to coach, and then after that we'll see where we are. But I fell in love with the game and the values. The game it's a physical game. It's a tough game. It demands that you be calloused mentally and physically, and so many youngsters are turning away from football, and that concerns me. And again, that's one of the reasons that my wife Jackie and I wanted to be here. We wanted to be a part of a program here in Jackson that lets those in Jackson County to understand what a great game it is. And it's not about Michigan and Michigan State and Central. It's about a celebration of the game of football, and hopefully fans and parents and grandparents will turn out to be a part of this program.
Yeah, in fact, you do have someone from the other side. Kari Willis is going to be making a special appearance at this event. And
one thing about Kari, we've been with him for the last 4 years. I mean, we've played against those Michigan State teams. We watched him play with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind, and it's going to be so good for him to be a part of our program. I'm not sure with the mandatory practices that they have in the NFL now, he'll be with us in person, but he will and has agreed to put a video together to talk about what football has meant for him in his days here in Jackson.
Well, that'll be a great feature. In addition to you and Jackie, Jim Harbaugh will be here.
And John has put together a video of why football matters. It's about a 5-minute video, and we've had a chance, Rebecca, to look at it, right?
We've previewed it, yep.
And it is magnificent. And so the video will be here. Jim's going to make a presentation about football. Chris Hutchinson, who was a football player at the University of Michigan, played professional football, a doctor, and works in ER, and he's going to be here and make a presentation as someone has played the game, someone who is a doctor and sees concussions on a daily basis, and allowed his son Eden, who's now a freshman at the University of Michigan going into his sophomore year, allowed him to play the game, to talk about that and why he understands that the game is so much safer now and our youngsters need to be involved.
And I understand you've spent a lot of time with doctors in the last few years. You yourself, you had a close call. You had a heart attack and bypass surgery, but it seemed, from what I've read, that was kind of like a wake-up call for you.
What it does is when you come out of a surgery like that, they put the 4 bypasses in, and you wake up. Kind of an interesting story is had the surgery and I was waking up for the first time, and it was a dark room, and I saw a little light at the end of the bed. And I heard these 2 guys talking about, they were playing chess. I found out later they were playing chess, but they were in a little bit of arguing about moves and who might have moved them a little bit, or who moved a little too fast or a little bit too slow, and they were arguing back and forth. And I realized that I might have gone to hell, and this is the way it was going to be, for eternity. And then I realized it was John and Jim doing the things that I had heard, my wife had heard for all those different years. So I had a little taste of what it might be like in the hereafter.
Yes, send us to a life of listening to chess players.
Especially with your sons, and you've experienced that for much of your life.
So you have to give up allegiance to either son when they're playing, because there have been a couple of times where, as pro coaches, they faced each other. Which side of the field did you sit on?
The first time they played, we didn't go to the stadium. We were in the stadium, and they found a little office for us, and they got us a TV, and we watched the game with the privacy of just my wife and myself. So we didn't have a chance to let anyone that we have no favorite, but we didn't want to even perceive that we might have favored one over the other. But we did watch the Super Bowl game from inside the stadium down in New Orleans, and it was the most agonizing experience of my entire life.
Well, they put you on TV a lot, and you had to be stone-faced.
The CBS people were very kind to us. They told us that they would only film us coming out of timeouts. You know, there wasn't a play that you might be reacting to, and they would film us at the end of the game. So they gave us a heads up, so we were very cognizant of how our behavior should be, and not showing that. But the one thing at the end of the game was a real surreal experience. John Harbaugh with the Baltimore Ravens had won maybe the greatest prize in all the sports, the Super Bowl. And the confetti was going, and the band was playing, and they were bringing out the presentation table, and you realize his son had just won the Super Bowl. And we didn't feel like we thought we would feel. And someone told us later, Doc Rivers, friend of Tom Crean, our son-in-law, said that a parent can only be as happy as their unhappiest child. And we had a feeling of why we didn't feel quite. We did celebrate with him, and we enjoyed it, but it was an interesting experience, to say the least.
Yeah, that must have been agony and ecstasy all at once. Let's talk about the day. Last year, in addition to you and Jackie and Jim Harbaugh, we had a lot of high school coaches. Al Glick invited coaches from all over the area. In fact, we have a photo with you and Lloyd Carr actually was here as well. And there you are. Herb Brogan, Al Glick, Jack Harbaugh, and Lloyd Carr. So we'll see great coaches again. Rebecca, what's the day going to be?
So we need the kids to start checking in at 10:30, and we're going to usher them up about 11:15 to the auditorium at Jackson High. They'll be featured up front, right at the front of the stage, and parents will fill the auditorium. And then the first 30 minutes, it's going to be fun and lively, active, and the kids will be in there. And then after 30 minutes, after Jim Harbaugh sends them out, they'll go to camp. And so from noon to 4, they'll have camp just like last year. And then the parents will stay in the auditorium for the last half hour with the more technical stuff, talking about safety and concussions and that kind of stuff.
Antonio Bass, maybe as fine an athlete that's ever come out of Jackson, will be part of the presentation, part of the program. I've never met him. I'm excited to do that.
He's a great guy. In fact, he was just named as one of the top 25 Michigan high school football quarterbacks in the last 25 years. So that's a great honor, and that'll be great to have him there.
Another speaker on the program would be John Jensen, a 15-year professional football player with the Washington Redskins.
He's very tall.
Very tall, very big, working now at Michigan in the media department there. Has a son, Jack, and excited for Jack to participate in football, and he'll have a chance to talk about the values of football, the leadership and the hard work and the callous that John talks about in youngsters developing because they play football. And then for me, just biased as I am, Jackie Harbaugh, wife Jackie, we'll be married 58 years come November.
Congratulations.
She was the head coach of the Harbaugh family, offensive and defensive coordinator of the Harbaugh family. I was a loyal assistant that served her in her role in every way that I could. She saw when our youngsters were in the 5th grade, they wanted to play football, and she was one that made the decision to allow them to play football. And she's going to give about a 10-minute presentation of those that she went through, those things that she went through in making the decision to allow our youngsters to play football. And I think the mothers would really be attached to that and find great knowledge in that. And they're now making the decisions on whether their youngsters that'll be a part of this camp, whether they will be comfortable in them choosing to play football.
Well, Jackie's going to be a saint to be married to a football coach and have sons as football coaches, because come football season, you can't talk to you folks. You're really it's such a focus, isn't it?
Well, when you're playing together 3 hours, my wife and I, we cannot watch a game in the same room. She's upstairs and I'm downstairs, but the problem is that there's a delay. the upstairs, for some reason, in the same house, gets to play like a couple beats before I get it. So I'm downstairs and I hear, "Oh no!" And I realize that it's probably not going to be a good outcome.
Well, I think everybody's looking forward to a great Michigan football season. And is this year we're going to get Ohio State?
Oh, we're coming after them.
Yeah, that must have been agony, that game for you.
We go back to the '70s with Bo and Woody and playing in those ball games, and it's just a replay. And I've been around the program in Michigan for 2 or 3 years now with Jim. We've lived in Ann Arbor, right next door to Jim, and I've seen the program grow. I really believe that it's in the best position it's been over the last 4 years. So we're looking for good things to happen.
A lot of Michigan fans were heartbroken last week to learn that John Beilein is leaving. And really, I think it came as a big surprise because last year it appeared that he was thinking of going to the Pistons. So I think Michigan fans are really shocked. I know you're close to John Beilein. What were you surprised?
Surprised I was. And on that money, when I heard the names, we've become so close and respect him so much. To see him leaving Ann Arbor, I mean, that was the disappointment. But I know, I think there's that one thing out there. He's experienced junior high school football, college football at a level, and then now at Michigan at the highest level. And the challenge of that next step, I think, was exciting for him, and we wish him well.
Well, it'll be exciting. They already have their next coach lined up, and it's a Michigan man, so wish him the best as well. We'll look forward to seeing both of you at the second annual Al Glick Youth Football Camp and Celebration of Football. And Rebecca, it's just $15 for the whole thing.
Yes, but we don't want anybody not to come because that's a problem. So, my email address is all over the website. Just email me and we'll make sure we take care of it.
All right, you can find it on Facebook, on alro.com, and also at jtv.tv. We're really grateful for you coming in to be with us today. Thanks so much.
Thank you. What a pleasure.
Thanks, Bart.
Look forward to seeing you at Jackson High next month.
Thank you.
Thanks.
With the second annual Al Glick Youth Football Camp and Jackson County Celebration of Football, Rebecca Armstrong and Jack Harbaugh.